You ever wonder what it would look like if tech just ran wild? If we gave AI and automation and algorithms overlordship over our society, what kind of world would that be? One recent development in this direction has me pretty scared. You know those self-driving cars that are being tested all over the place right now? Well, one of the companies testing self-driving cars is doing something that I think is downright creepy. They're putting the people who are testing the cars to test. What they do is they put human drivers inside these cars, and then they let the computer take over from time to time. The computer takes control of the car, and the human just observes. But here's the thing. They're not doing this in some lab where there's human supervision. They're letting computers loose in the real world, in traffic with real people and real stakes. Now, this is supposedly being done for testing purposes. They want to see how well their computers can perform under realistic conditions. But I'm sorry, it just seems like we're normalizing giving up control of our lives to machines, letting algorithms take over from us in areas that we've traditionally reserved for human intelligence. And what scares me about this story isn't so much the self-driving cars themselves, but what it tells us about the way that tech companies are thinking about the world. You see, to a tech company, everything is a set of inputs and outputs. Everything can be quantified and reduced to numbers. So why not use algorithms to improve upon our messy human ways of doing things? Why not turn over the control of our cities to these systems? What could possibly go wrong? It turns out that many of these same companies are also working on something called a smart city. The idea is that just as these companies have been able to gather massive amounts of data and leverage algorithms to improve their products and services, so too can cities. The idea is that if you collect enough data about how people move around a city, you can optimize their movement through the city. Here's how the New York Times described it. Sensors embedded in the sidewalk could detect a mother pushing a stroller and a man with a briefcase and route them along different paths. Retailers could use the system to target ads based on the flow of shoppers. Police could track crime waves in real time and dispatch officers more efficiently. Sounds great, right? Well, again, the creepiness doesn't come from the idea of smart cities themselves. Lots of good can come from better infrastructure and smarter resource management. The creepiness comes from the idea that these companies will be able to collect even more data about our lives, about where we go, what we do, who we interact with. These systems aren't going to just make our lives more efficient. They're going to change our cities to fit the needs of algorithms, to make it easier for algorithms to extract value from our lives. We'll be living in these cities, but they won't really be our cities. We'll be cattle, and these corporations will be herders. And don't get me wrong, I'm all for progress. I love technology. I think it's great. But progress for its own sake isn't always good. Technology that isn't guided by values, by a sense of what is right and what is wrong, can lead us down a dark path. Think about the social credit system that's being developed in China right now. The idea is that every citizen of China will have a number, a social credit number, and this number will dictate how much access they have to financial services, to transportation services, to public services. And this number will be based on an algorithm that is designed to evaluate the trustworthiness of each citizen. A few months ago, I made a video where I talked about how social media was designed to be addictive, how the features of Facebook and Instagram and Twitter are designed in such a way to maximize the amount of time that you spend on these apps. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people have realized this now. I think a lot of people have seen how these apps are designed to abuse our psychology, to abuse our need for connection and belonging. But I think we're still underestimating the danger of algorithms. I think we're still underestimating what it means to live in a world where these systems are running wild, where we've given over the control of our lives to machines. I recently read a novel called The Circle. It's a dystopian novel about a world where a tech company has so much power that it's basically able to control the world. The main character in the story works for this company, and at first she is excited by the possibilities, by the idea that technology can be used to make the world a better place. But over time, she sees the dark side of this, the way that this company is able to use its power to control people, to manipulate them, to take advantage of them. The scary thing is that this story isn't all that far from our current reality. We already live in a world where big tech companies have enormous amounts of power. They have the power to control the flow of information, to control what we see and say. And as these companies become even more powerful, as they develop new technologies that allow them to collect even more data about us, as they develop new technologies that allow them to control our cities, I think we need to be very careful. We need to be very careful about the kind of world that we're creating, the kind of world that we're leaving for future generations. Because if we're not careful, we could end up creating a world that we don't even recognize. A world where machines have taken over from us. A world where algorithms rule our lives.